Well, today's service, a preacher's dream, to see people in the house of the Lord that do not know Christ, that I may witness to you.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday, April the 16th. I hope you're all doing well. I've taken just a little bit of time to step back and smell the roses, do some thinking, do some research. And so don't even ask me how I went down or stumbled on some things that I'm going to present tonight. I think it's because I was looking into tax-exempt groups on the IRS. On the IRS website, sorry about that. It has a lot of layers, the whole guidelines for the kind of tax-exempt group that NTCC is. And so I read where, I've read several things. Some of it I'll save. But for now, my research was taking me down the path of what are the parameters, the boundaries for churches talking about politics. Now, beyond not just endorsing a candidate, or, we already know there's churches through the years, churches on the left and the right that blatantly promote, they have them come speak at their church, everything, and they don't suffer anything for it. And that's not what I'm looking to do here. I'm looking to give you one more layer of information to consider. And that is, I did not realize until this past year, I don't know if it was always this way. I do remember when I was in, there would be times where Davis would preach. Davis is the founder of this group. And he would say something and then he'd say, I'm not politicking here. And he was. As I was doing some research, I happened upon a preacher who has since passed away in 2022. But this preacher, while he was at a conference in 2021, I believe, maybe April, he recorded a Bible study that he could post for his congregation or for anyone to see while he was in Missouri, which to me was admirable. So what happened was I'd already known about Tanya KEKEL's alternative Twitter account where it's MME Maximilia. I think in the video I posted about the KEKEL's vacations, I said how I found that one that she had, that she basically reposts political stuff every single day, pretty much every single day. And so I thought about that. I wonder what Tanya was doing during that week, if she was reposting political Twitter posts, and she was. While this dude is in a hotel room in Mexico, Missouri, recording a Bible study, I don't know anything about, I do remember him from when we were in school, but I do not recall, I have no knowledge of what he was like as a person or as a preacher, because I've learned through the years, many men and women who you think are so sweet and so nice have another side to them. So this is not an endorsement of that person. This is just something that came to my mind when I saw that video, and I wondered what were the KEKELs doing that day while they were at the conference. Did it take all day for Tanya to hit a retweet? No. But there's a mindset, and it's not limited to what I'm showing you here. It is pervasive in their life, the KEKELs. This is what's important to them besides other things. I'm just pointing out that I went down this rabbit hole of research. I can't even tell you where it started. Next thing I knew, I was looking at Tanya's account to see what did she do on that day. And then I realized, here's someone who is a part of this organization, and should she be trying to persuade congregants, members, other preachers on a political bent? Is that what you can do that privately as a private person, but to post something and people see your face and they know what you're about? I went now, I don't know why. I don't know if Elon Musk did this when he changed it from Twitter to X, but now you can only see 50 followers and 50 of whoever someone is following. So she has thousands of followers, and you can look at some of them and see some are preachers in NTCC, and some are just people, I don't know who they are. And some are just returning the favor. She followed them, so they followed her. And they are with a certain political bent. I have my own. I had my own when I was in the group. But one thing I learned when I was in Pittsburgh, we were really trying to get through to this one lady. And she was very, very smart, very strong-willed. And we would just go visit with her, be her friend. She enjoyed the girls, and she would love to get in conversations about different things. So we were trying to get her to church, and I think this one night she called me, and I said, I'm just out the door to go vote. And she said, who are you voting for? I don't remember if it was a primary or a general election, but I told her. And she was like, I'm never coming to church now. Now, I thought it was a convenient excuse, but honestly, I felt really bad about that. I remembered that lesson. I never made it again. I never made that mistake again. I felt like had I been the person to come by her life, and had I ruined that. Now, I was brought up with a mom and a stepdad who were very involved in politics in New Jersey. And when I was in high school, I became involved and ran some political headquarters and went out and did canvassing, all that stuff. So knocking on doors like a JW in New Testament Christian Church was no biggie, but I didn't like it. And nobody likes it. Let's just get that straight. So I remembered that, and I remembered I did not see anywhere in the Bible where Jesus thought any of that was important. Jesus came for one reason, and it wasn't to get you to read a book about how communism is spreading in the world. And isn't that the one reason that preachers are supposed to be tending to? That's their sole purpose. What if not, then how are they different from anyone else? How are they different from any talking head or any podcast or any group of people that posts online about political stuff? There is no difference then. So as you listen to this service, keep in mind what Mike said at the beginning of the service, which was this:
to see people in the house of the Lord that do not know Christ, that I may witness to you. I want to preach to you today about the testimony of the dead. It's a nice zombie-like title for Sunday morning. But here's a quote that comes from, and I don't desire to get political today, but it does apply to the message. You might not think so at first, but it will. It's a quote that comes from an important publication from the Epoch Times, EPIC, E-P-O-C-H, not E-P-I-C. The Epoch Times, one of the rare truth-telling news groups of today. A book that all our Bible school students are now reading and doing a book report on. Which, by the way, that book report was planned before the debacle upon which everyone's blaming it. I wanted to do it that way because it's a good old drill sergeant basic training tactic where you don't worry about who's guilty, you just punish everybody. And if you consider a book report punishment, then studying must not be your passion.
Or maybe like some of us were wondering about in the years when Davis started assigning secular books like Who Moved My Cheese as a book report, as a book to read and do a report on. Why? Why this? People are like, oh, I already have so much to do. I have so many places to be. You want me to type notes. Now you want me to read this political book because you're hyped up on it. And dude, you just said you assigned it as a form of punishment for everyone. So you want them to be all, yay, ooh, wow, what a blessing.
Oh, ouch. But I want them to read this book because it explains, I think everyone should read it, if they want to see the truth of what everything's about without all the propaganda and the trash. You want to really know what's going on and really unlock history.
Let's remember and let's remind you what Mike said at the beginning of service. He has people there who this is a preacher's dream, right? He wants to shine the light for them of Jesus.
That I may witness to you and learn about your country, America. You should read that book. If you want to know what it is, talk to me. Email me. There's only one place you can get it. Amazon will not carry the book. Kindle will not carry the book. Apple will have nothing to do with the book. All of that should tell you that's a good book.
The name of the book is How the Specter of Communism is Ruling Our World.
That should make you want to read it. What are they trying to keep from us? This book. And you should care about it. I don't care how old you are. If you're a teenager, you ought to want to read it because it will open up and you'll be able to see what your teachers are trying to do to you at the school. And it will unlock your understanding. And further, whether you do or do not read it, it significantly impacts your life. So you ought to be able to see what is real so you can protect yourself.
Protect yourself? Protect yourself?
Now, it is a book about something called communism, which is a political system. You may say, well, it doesn't matter what political system we have, as long as it gives me what I need and I don't have to work for it, or I'm willing to work as long as I can work and make a living. Doesn't matter. I don't care what our government is doing, what kind of government we have, but what people don't know and what's not shown to you is the phases of getting rid of one and instituting the other. And the final phase is, according to their own documents, to just take by force and wipe out anybody that opposes you, which is kind of what almost happened in Canada, right under our noses. And so this system has main goals. One main and critical goal of theirs is to eliminate religion. Eliminate religion, family structure, deny the existence of God, especially as a creator. And so back to the quote. Here's the quote. Since the 1960s, this is out of that book, page 139, Aka, circa 139 approximately. Since the 1960s, communism, and really it goes all the way back to the beginning of the last century, to 1917, give or take, It has engaged in a large-scale invasion of American education. On top of that, many young people indulge in television, computer games, the internet, and social media. They get turned into, quote-unquote, snowflakes, people who lack knowledge, a broad perspective, a sense of responsibility, a sense of history, and the ability to cope with challenges. With communist and communist-derived ideology comes, or it's instilled in them by their parents' generation. They become indoctrinated and henceforth use a warped framework for evaluating the new facts they see and hear. That is, communist lies have formed a film around them, preventing them from having a clear view of reality. That explains to you why the youth of today are not open to gospel and Christian ideas. They don't even realize that their minds have been molded by this sinister thing.
And may I insert here the obvious? I think he's leaving out something. He's not stepping back to look at his own group of people that are turning away people in droves because of their man-made doctrines like tithe or go to hell. If you're not humble enough to step back and say, we are complicit in this, they can't, because they can't do away with that pet doctrine. They can't do that.
That desires to turn our country into what many of the others of the world have been turned into. And that is a godless society of materialistic, free sex, rebellious people.
Sometimes, without realizing the high impact it has, people like Mike and his wife live a life that is high in what appears to be two people that are very materialistic. And so, how do you not realize you are turning young people away? And especially when you have services like this, where is the love and power of God? It's non-existent. It sounds more like a dry, boring college lecture series or something, somebody who wrote a book comes to Barnes and Noble and gives a little diddly of a presentation to make people want to buy the book. Only this is supposed to be about the salvation of souls. You have to keep that in mind when you hear what he's talking about. It's just like you talked about that one service about healing. He said you have to get a mindset. No. Where is that? Where's any of this? This, when someone comes hungry or desiring or earnestly seeking, this is how you put out the fire. This is a fire extinguisher of a service right here. You're witnessing it.
But if somebody's going up, and they're going up to the prison, and there's a witness that can say, I saw it, I witnessed what they did, and they have to become protected because people will come out against them and try to take them out, put them to death, or stop them from going in that courtroom and telling what they saw. This is the same thing that we see in this political system that is atheistic and hates God. It wants to stop people from witnessing. He wants to stop the witnesses. We've already witnessed. Witnessing is not really telling someone about God. You're testifying of what you witnessed. So God, they don't want us to testify of what God has done for us. They don't want us to spread the Bible. They don't want us to instill morality in our children. They don't want our children to rise up or be raised knowing about God. And that's why children's church is an awesome thing. They can go down there, they can hear the stories of the Bible, they can learn life's lessons from the Bible, and that's what the children's church teachers teach about the Bible. They're not there for revelation and the end of the world and all that stuff.
Now, maybe they have tighter controls on children's church now, but when I was up there, there were a lot of people, quite a number, that loved talking about Noah's Ark and going on that angle and scaring the bejesus out of little kids and presenting what NTCC does, because that's all they have to go on. Some people, they don't think for themselves that it's about love and it's about the fruit of the Spirit. And what is that? Although that in itself is funny, because there was a song we used to sing with the kids about the fruit of the Spirit. I heard a little girl one time, it opened my mind to realize you have to just keep it so simple. Instead of self-control, she was just belting out shelf control. You know, you gotta control those shelves, man. That's a problem. That's a big problem. And it made me realize, though it was a good and catchy song, it was way, way over their heads. And it wasn't necessary. And so he's saying this, but I shared the story of a lady who was teaching about tithing to these little kids that were 5 and wanting them to use a tithe envelope and to tithe. And people teach the stories of the Old Testament God. And how can they do otherwise when that's what's coming out over the pulpit, is they want to present the angry, angry God who is always angry with them and always checking the list and making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Who wants that? You can get that anywhere in your life. You can probably go find a lecture series about communism invading America as well. He's trying to tie it in with the gospel. He can make some points on that. But so much of this service was about this book, how important this book is and what this book says. And you need this book, but I can't tell you what the title is. You're going to have to contact me privately. So let's say you're a new person there for the first time. What are you sitting there thinking? Why isn't this guy telling us what the title of a book is? It makes it sound secretive, like, am I going to get in trouble for having it? Am I supposed to have it? It's very, I would find it odd. Like, I agreed to come with this person to church. They've been pestering me to come experience God's presence, all of that. And this is what you give them.
But to tell them about the one that died for us and why and what he can do and how great he is, and institute into their brains creationism instead of telling them that they came from monkeys or explosions. And all of those theories came from communistic thinkers that wanted to deny creationism, deny God, tell them that God's not real, there's nothing to it. it. It's just a religion. It's just another way of believing, and our way of believing is better, and it doesn't include God. It doesn't include restriction. It includes sexuality, immorality, rebellion, rock and roll, brother. It includes let's get high, let's get drunk, let's party for tomorrow we die. All of these ideas, they have actually promoted it for the purpose of destroying our nation. And you say you don't believe that. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. You should get the book.
You don't know what you're talking about. Get the book. Get the magic book. Get the book, the secret book, the title of which I cannot say out loud. This isn't the Bible he's promoting. It's some book. It's just a book that he believes is so entirely important. Everyone should read it, everyone. And if you don't believe him, you don't know what you're talking about. Read the book. It's book, I can tell you with information in it that I've seen other places. So I'm not really sure. I didn't read all of it. I didn't listen, rather, to all of it, but a lot of it, because I was looking for that quote. Without the quote, I couldn't confidently tell you what the title of the book was. So I am very thankful to Mike for giving a random quote from the book. And when you're listening to something, there are no page numbers to go by. So his reference to page 139 didn't work for me. I had to listen to a lot of it first. But he's not even talking about the Bible here. And we don't know what he's talking about, do we? Because he won't say it. It's like, Lord Voldemort, now you're in trouble. You said his name out loud. He who must not be named. The book which must not be named.
Get that book. 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 We're down here living this Christian life, regulating our behavior, living holy, going to church, paying tithe. That's the greatest tragedy, right?
You finally admitted it. Paying tithe based on scripture that is non-existent for believers in Christ, because it had nothing to do with that. I'm glad to hear you finally come around.
To die and know I gave 10% of my income for nothing. Here I am in hell. Now wait a minute. If there's no heaven, then there isn't any hell. If there's no God, then none of it's true. Then you just cease to be when you die. And you got all these people all over the world. This is just what a conundrum for my cranium. All these people all over the world say there's nothing to it. When you die, it's over. There's no heaven. There's no hell. There's no God. And your life ceases to exist when you die. And yet they go down to the graveyard and talk to the tombstone, thinking Uncle Billy Bob is hearing what they have to say. And he might. What are you doing down there if you believe that it's over when you die? Why are you doing anything? Because you really know in your heart of hearts that it's not over when you die. You know as well as I do there has to be a God in heaven. Unless you've been indoctrinated and programmed to believe that Christianity is a myth and some kind of stupidity. If someone has put that in your brain, I would beg of you to realize it, research it, and give yourself to the fact that I don't know, my mind has been messed up by people that didn't want me to find God. I need to entertain a different way of thinking and open up my mind to this and see if I can find out the truth.
So even back in 2022, he's talking about this mindset stuff. He doesn't even present the truth he says he believes as a faith matter. When I first went to a church back in 1985, the preacher didn't say, go research it, go see if it's not true. It's not how it was presented. Who would respond to that? Who would respond to this? I don't know. Had he stuck with just presenting the Bible, the scriptures, instead of all the stuff about the secret book, you know how much shorter the service would have been, and probably he could have made it pack a punch that he was looking for those people that he said every preacher dreams of that opportunity. And he absolutely blows it because he's so consumed with the political and the communist thing. He's into it, man. He is into it.
From the system of Satan comes a multitude of social ills that steal the true joy of living. And people don't even realize it because they have followed Marxist ideology. The basis of communism, which puts on a face to appear pretty, and for tourists they put on a show, but their brutality is known around the world. All these things that are not of God and the things that Satan loves. Let's look at the second part of this. People have eyes, but they're blind, and they're blind because of the influences that have borne upon them. The plan of Satan. You see, communism is more than a political system. It is part of the overall plan of Satan himself to stamp out religion, to bring the world under immorality, to divide it and conquer it. And that is one of their chief strategies, divide and conquer. If we can get people fighting over what color they are, we can invade them and overpower them. If we can get them to hate their government and overpower it, then we can overcome. From such a system comes a multitude of social ills that steal the true joy of living. Things such as, these are social ills, sicknesses of society. And I don't know if any of you have traveled the world, but you don't have to travel the world very long to see other countries and the way other people live. And you find out quickly, this America is a pretty nice place to be. Now, I know they're storming the borders for the giveaways and the opportunity, but they always wanted to come here. People around the world, because they want to get away from this type of tyranny and oppression. And so they promote sexual irresponsibility. Never more than ever before. We have people just living with one another. They never get married. They have a whole house full of kids and never marry, never commit. They have people that think they can just have sex with whomever and it's okay because they're taught that that's okay. But it isn't okay. You know why? Because there's a God in heaven. And God said it's not okay. It isn't up to me. It isn't up to you. It isn't up to politicians. It's up to God, the one who is the judge of all men and to whom we shall answer for our lives. So, therefore, we have to go by the law, and the laws of man aren't really the laws of heaven. You don't have any rendition of the laws of heaven except in the Bible. That's all you have.
And the laws of NTCC, one of which is tithe or go to hell.
Okay. Here's some more not sexual, ills. Sorry, didn't mean to disappoint you there. Sexual irresponsibility, adultery on every hand, homosexuality, adultery, every kind of filth you can think of. Now he said here, and I didn't say it, God said it. Did I say it? I'm reading it to you. Moral decay, gender confusion, lack of family structure, class warfare, and worst of all, societal destruction.
He's reading from where? The Bible or the book which cannot be named? I'm confused.
Russia's wonderful culture and history was wiped out with brutality and bloodshed by an overthrow and followed by cleansing, so-called. In 1919, Lenin instituted a program that sought to wipe out religion in the shortest time possible. He used violence. He failed, by the way. He failed. There's people in these countries that serve God anyway, but they don't do it with the relaxed way that we do. To institute atheism and materialism. Stalin took it up when Lenin died, and whereas there were 46,000 churches, by the time he got done, only 4,225 Orthodox churches were left. That's gatherings and buildings, so the stats say. Multitudes were sent to the Gulag prison or shot to death. China had the world's oldest surviving civilization. Goes back 5,000 years, considered one of the ancient by them. It was known as the Celestial Empire, one of the ancient civilizations, I should have said. It was known as the Celestial Empire. So big, so vast, that it was like the stars and the planets. Splendid and magnificent traditional culture that was admired by many nations. You can see this on display as I think it's called Shenyun. As they perform here in America, their shows are available today where they display the true Chinese culture that was wiped out from their homeland by the CCP. Many religions existed in peace, including Christianity of sorts. And since they couldn't change the people's minds, they couldn't indoctrinate them because they weren't children in school. They couldn't change their minds against God because they already had experienced religion and spirituality and rich culture. And so they chose to go to the final phase, which is just massacre them. They starved out millions while they gave money to the communist program abroad in other nations. Starved their own people to death. How? By making bare the shelves of their grocery stores, by cutting their finances, seizing their bank accounts like they just did in Canada, taking it into the final stages of bringing a free country down to its knees in subjection to a political, filthy, corrupt system. I know our system's corrupt, but it's nowhere, it's nothing like this in its basis. I'm not talking about those occupying the offices. I'm talking about the real system that I wish we could actually have. Freedom in America, freedom of speech. So all could say whatever they want without prison. What if it's not good? Doesn't matter. Freedom's freedom. You're free to wear any color underwear you wanted to church today. Nobody told you what to put on unless your spouse told you. I don't know. Hopefully they're not that invasive. But they openly conducted violent campaigns to destroy the culture. They tore down their monuments, they destroyed their architecture, they destroyed their relics, they took their material culture, their temples, antique paintings, all their artifacts, and completely destroyed them. Massacred landlords and people in the neighborhoods. They took their land, they took their money, they starved millions on purpose, and then donated to communist causes. This is who your favorite athlete supports, because they make and sell products with their name on them. Anybody that supports that is part of it. Saw a thing from Amazon the other day. They said it had an article about Amazon. Everybody likes the convenience of Amazon. Bezos knew that. Look what it got him. Filthy rich. And that's okay. I don't care what he has. Donated $100 million to the Obama Foundation. $100 million. Do you know what that is? It's like the Clinton Foundation. A money laundering thing. So that they launder the money and you get all these millions back by making speeches. Think about it. If you don't know what's going on there, you need to read the book. Think about it. If you don't know what's going on there, you need to read the book. If you don't know what's going on there, you need to read the book. You need to read the book. You need to read the book. To read the book. Book. Corruption. And if that's what they're, goodbye, Amazon. I'd rather pay the shipping cost. Get out. Pastor KEKEL, man, you're just stirring up all kinds of gravy today.
The truth of what? Bible truth? Truth about Jesus? God? The life to come? Or the book? Get the book.
Well, telling the truth. They don't want, if they get their way, they'll haul all of us. And when I think it was the communists in Russia, the USSR, they gathered up, it was 100,000 at one time, no, 200,000 I think it was, clergy, and just killed them or sent them to the prison camp. Stamp out religion.
It's really not funny, but when it's 1:30 in the morning, it is kind of funny because he says it again to get the book. Oh my goodness.
Get this book, it'll make you tremble. Get this book, it'll make you tremble. Get this book, get this book, get this book. You tremble, 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 tremble. And when you look around you, what's happening? It's going on here. We're just in the beginning phases. They're working it. There is a God in heaven this morning, and this is the hope that we hold. Find out that everything's been taken away, and we find ourselves struggling. Hopefully that day never comes. Hopefully freedom will prevail. I have faith in America. I have faith in people. I don't think people want to be divided. I don't think they want to be split into classes.
Especially not when they go to church. And there's special seating and special parking and special everything. Special little helpers who run around and do errands for the men and women of God. Special places where ministers and their families go to fellowship. And you church members, well, you figure it out for yourselves at fellowship meeting, but you're not eating with us. People don't like to be put into a caste system, Mike. So turn it inward. Turn it inward and then change it outward.
Amen. I don't believe that. The rich man woke up in hell, and that's in the Gospel of Luke. And Jesus was telling the story, and the rich man didn't have time for the beggar. The beggar sat out there asking alms, just wanting something to eat. The rich man had all the money, but the thing that was wrong was not that he had money, but that he didn't care about anybody else. He didn't give to the man. He didn't take care of the man. He could have brought him in, cleaned him up, helped him if he was willing to be taught and to listen, unless he was making more sitting on the steps than he would having a job. I don't know. But he didn't bring him in. He didn't help him that we know of. But the rich man died, and the beggar died. The beggar found himself in the arms of Abraham, safe in the security of God.
I have my own thoughts on what he's saying here and comparing it to this group. And they are found lacking when it comes to reaching out to people who are truly in need, even within their own group. I'm not talking about something where you're like, oh yeah, we'll do this for show and then I'll tell about it over the pulpit, or I'll take a picture of it and post it. No. You just do it because it's the right thing to do, and because if you really had faith in a God that you say you believe in, you wouldn't worry about who else knows about your great deed. But you are not a group that helps those that are in true need. Read the Bible. Don't read the book, the unnamed book. Read your Bible. See who you should be helping and do it.
But the rich man, the Bible said, lift up his eyes in hell. So it tells you that there was a transition where he was probably not aware. I doubt that it was like the movies where he's going, oh, I'm going down, 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 down.
How does he know? How does he know? I cut out a lot from this service. This guy's still going on. What in the world? He's all over the place. He's always all over the place because he's off on these tangents. And this time, in 2022, he's so consumed with the book. Why would you waste so much of everyone's time for you to pontificate about your special knowledge from this special magic book? There are people sitting there. You have no respect for their time to waste it with this. And you clearly don't have a vision of heaven and of all these things that you supposedly believe. And yet this service is void of it. It's void. There's nothing. It's a big black hole of nothing.
Said, send Lazarus. Send that beggar over here to help me. My, how the tables turned. Now he has time for the beggar.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Now, and that's what Abraham said to him. He said, you had your time. He said, now he's comforted and you are tormented. And there was something about it. Thankfully I had relatives that talked to me about God and put a few ideas in my head. I didn't go to school and hear stuff about how to put on a condom and how to change my gender and do all this stuff. I heard about mathematics, history, algebra, social studies, about decency. I heard about, let's see, what else? We had wood shop. I loved wood shop. There was metal shop. There was all kinds of things. There was home economics that taught ladies how to be domestic. There was really a class for that? Yeah, there was a class for that. And if a boy went down and took home economics, we gave him what for? What are you doing in there, sissy? What are you doing taking home economics instead of wood shop? What's wrong with you? It's a different world, isn't it? But that was a world you don't know about because they've gotten to you.
When I was in middle school, we had home ec, we had art, we had metal shop, graphic arts, we had mechanical drawing, which is sort of like the beginnings of drafting and architecture. And you know what? There were boys in home ec. And I have to tell you something. At 61 right now, I know people who, I know men who are in their 70s, 60s, whose wives have passed away, and who can cook and clean up a storm. And you know why? Because their moms taught them and because they took it in school. But this old-fashioned organization about ladies learning to be domestic, everybody should know. Everyone. Because even though statistically men will probably die first, if you beat the stats, you need to feed yourself and you need to keep your home neat. But further, he goes on as if it was okay that they, beat up a kid if he took home ec, bullied him, made fun of him. That's okay. He doesn't even say, yeah, we were stupid then. No. It's like you don't even know about that time. You don't, because they've gotten to you. This is this backwards mentality. If you think your young man is any less of a man or puts him in another category in your eyes because he did formerly, I can talk, or now takes home ec. That is just so irresponsible. And if you go and treat your son, or if you make comments like this in your church because of listening to this guy who you think is some kind of great mentor, I hope they get up and walk out if you start spewing this mess.
With different ideas about family structure, decency, manners, courtesy. The Bible commands you to be courteous. What is it when you're in the airport and people just walk right in front of you? Nothing. Run right into you with their telephone. Not an excuse me, I'm sorry, a look your way, nothing. Because we're becoming like Europe and Asia. It used to be in America, your neighbor would wave at you. And now he tries not to look at you. Not all of them. Go down south in Texas. Hey, y'all, how you doing? Great, how are you? Fine, this is a nice day. I said, man, this is refreshing compared to the hipster Washington weirdness that I'm used to. It's a blessing to see real people eating real food with decency, hold the door for you. And I thank God there's still some here too. And they're all over the world. There's people that want decency, freedom, kindness, mercy, love. And he called me to testify of the greatness of God.
Only you just spent the better part of this service talking about this book about communism and its tentacles. That's so you've been negligent in what you say you've been called to do.
And that's why I'm here, 42 years, almost 43, telling you I want to testify of what I saw. I want to tell you about what I felt.
She looks at her watch and thinks, finally.
And I quit being a rebellious punk with a chip on my shoulder. And he put love in my heart. And he put love for all the world. And all I want to do is to spread the word.
I'm going to stop this video here. I've included some screenshots from KEKEL's Facebook page where he has things that really seem to be crossing the line as far as what a pastor should be doing. How a man who is supposedly teaching other men and women how to be in a church when they go out there, and has them very concerned. I really hope they ignore it. I hope they leave, but I hope they ignore it and see it for what it is. And it is, to me, problematic, especially when you've got him promoting voting for Trump in 2020. Doesn't matter what you believe. He shouldn't be doing stuff like that. He's got a Facebook page that's open to the public, which means anybody who attends his church there in Graham or any of the NTCC churches can see that. And so, anyway, I'm looking into this type of thing and others. And if you have any information, just hit me up with a private message on Facebook, and I'm going to put the links again down below. I will also put these screenshots there as well for anyone who's just listening to this video. And otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up so I can get to sleep and be fresh for work in the morning. Okay. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.